get comfortable, then add in. Like, don't go all in overnight and be like, I'm going to go from a zero, cook from
Right.
eating fast food every day. And then tomorrow, if I can't get all 6 days perfect, well, it's not going to work. Like,
Right.
start small. Like, do what you can, and let's build up from there. And also, for women, like, we really do have to make sure we're getting in.
You're listening to the Plant-Based Eating for Health podcast show. I'm your host, Kathleen Gage. We're here to plant seeds on compassion to animals, your health, and the environment, and topics related to business that align with all three of those areas. Enjoy the show. Well, today I am super, super, super excited because I get to talk with one of my favorite people. And we talk even if we're not doing a podcast show, but today you get to be kind of a fly on the wall, but don't hurt that fly because vegans don't hurt flies, some vegans. But anyway, today I'm talking with Nancy Leeds Gribble, and she is a plant-based functional nutrition and lifestyle coach who helps women 50 plus break free from dieting, reclaim their confidence, and thrive in midlife and beyond. And I'm way beyond the 50 mark, but that's a whole different conversation. With a background in culinary nutrition, midlife health, and macro mastery, she guides clients to lose fat, build strength, and boost energy while creating lasting habits that support vitality and longevity. Her philosophy is it's never too late for a fresh start. The second half of life can be your most powerful, vibrant chapter yet. And for some of us, it's our third chapter. So Nancy,
Yes.
great to have you here.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. I'm
This
so
is
excited to catch up and all the things.
Oh gosh, and it's actually been a little while since we've actually hopped on Zoom and had a conversation. So I'm really looking forward to today because you are somebody that I actually follow you on TikTok. And I'm I'm a fan of yours. It's like I've got a fan crush because I love what you're doing, and you have actually motivated me to really up my game in what I'm doing. So let's start with when you first got involved in health and nutrition, when you went vegan. Let's start with that part of the story, and then we'll move into a conversation about some other things that are important for people to know.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I think as with most people, like getting into being and becoming a vegan, and my health is definitely a journey. And my journey is kind of twofold. In one, when I was in my early 20s, I went vegetarian kind of on the spot when I received a magazine about factory farming. And I was like, I absolutely will not be a part of that. I don't know what all this is, but I just knew in my soul I couldn't be a part of that. But I say I was vegetarian then because cheese was still something I ate for a very long time. And I was a junk food vegan. I mean, a junk food vegetarian. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing, just kind of eating what I could. On the other side of that, I grew up in the era of be skinny. Right. So my weight would fluctuate all the time from honestly a 2 to a 12 and anything in between. I knew how to diet like nobody's business. I think I ate lettuce and ketchup for an entire week one time, maybe even a month. I did, anything I could to get skinny, but of course I couldn't maintain it. Then I would gain the weight, and that was kind of my mode of operation. Then the next segment came when I learned about the connection. I call it the dairy dots, of going from vegetarian to vegan. I had no idea. I just hadn't dove into it. And I was like, I will not be a part of that, the dairy industry. And so stopped that. And so now I was in the vegan lifestyle, but still had the old mindset of this really was my mindset. I don't make it up. Your weight is your worth. And if you're not skinny, like something's wrong with you. You have got to be skinny, 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 skinny. So I survived on maybe some tortilla chips, some French fries, some beans here and there, but never really eating enough. My life, my business life, everything else was really good. I got married. I had a son, older. I was an older mom. And about in 2008, I was a realtor also. The market crashed. And at that moment, I lost my job, my career in a flash. I went lost a lot of investment property, but worst of
And,
all,
and let me just interrupt you there. You're not just talking a few $1,000s, you're talking a substantial amount of investments, correct?
yeah, I ended up going bankrupt.
Okay.
I was like over 1.5 million, and I ended up going bankrupt. At the same time, my husband, he's only 50, was diagnosed with stage 4 brain cancer, glioblastoma.
Mm,
So my world just came crashing in.
hmm.
And unfortunately, my husband passed away 9 months later. But in that time, I, of course, was trying to save him
Hmm.
and was really reading about the benefits of plant-based foods
Hmm.
and whole foods and how they can heal our health and how they can support and our health and all the things. But of course, he was way too far into that journey.
Right.
After he passed away, I can't say I immediately had this revelation. I didn't. I was pretty much in a fog for a while, trying to figure out how to navigate this bankruptcy, loss of my career, most importantly, loss of my husband, with my very, very young son. Fast forward 4 years, I'm kind of in a fog, trying to do real estate, short sales, all those things. And I meet somebody else, kind of fell in love. My son fell in love with him, and we were engaged, and pancreatic cancer. And they gave him 2 weeks,
Oh,
and
geez.
he passed away in 2 weeks. And it was after this moment that I had to take a step back, and I was like, wait a minute. Honestly, were very healthy looking men on the outside.
Hmm.
They ate well, they worked out, they looked fit. And I was like, what? Wait a minute, but all that was going on the inside. And it was a revelation that I'm like, okay, God has entrusted me as the sole parent for my young son. I'm older. I am not healthy. I got to get it together. So I would say I really went from vegetarian to vegan to whole food, plant-based vegan. And I started at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition just to learn about health for myself. I was
Right.
like, I gotta dive in. And that began the whole journey of how I went from one area and all the way to this. And I tell everyone my journey in this part really started at age 50. I don't come into this saying, we see people and they've been exercising and doing all these things all their life. That was not me. So that's my journey. I know
Well,
it's long,
and
sorry.
it's interesting because I'm glad you mentioned that you were 50 when you really started delving into it. And you also mentioned whole food, plant-based vegan,
Yeah.
because I know that a lot of people confuse what being vegan is with their diet. And veganism in my world, in my understanding, and I just celebrated 7 years, so I'm still a baby vegan. Yeah. And I started when I was 64. So it's never too late. And we're going to
Never.
talk about, the men and women, but primarily women who they may be in their 50s, 60s, even 70s, and their life is not working for them. And you and I both know that by a change of philosophy around food and a dramatic change in many
Yeah.
ways, their whole life could change. But veganism is the philosophy. It's around doing as little harm to animals as possible. And, some
Yeah.
people, they'll come in with, well, what about that fly or what about that mosquito? Let's be real about what's going on. But anyway, the whole food plant-based, that is really, to me, the holy grail of
Yeah.
eating. And you mentioned being a junk food vegetarian. Explain what a junk food vegan is and a junk food vegetarian, and what the difference between vegetarian and vegan is. Because again, there's a lot of misunderstanding. So if you could
Yeah.
delve into that a little bit.
Yeah, so vegetarians they will consume dairy,
Hmm.
they will consume eggs,
Hmm.
um, some consume fish. I think you can start getting like into all these little semantics, but
Right,
basically dairy and eggs. I never ate eggs because I was like, that's still a chicken. I don't get it.
right.
But I did still eat dairy. I just hadn't connected. Vegans, right? We try to eat nothing from the animal at all. So just be completely animal free. And then when I say junk food, vegetarian or vegan, it means though we're still eating a lot of processed food. We are not balancing our nutrition. We are not consuming enough of not just the macronutrients that we need, but those micronutrients that we need. We're depleted, and we're still ultra processed, and that can be. Look, Oreos are vegan. Okay, Tostitos are, and I love Tostitos, so I'm not slamming them, but they're vegan. So when I was a junk food vegan, I had a very heavily, like my meal, this was really my day. I'd have some kind of bar, right? Protein bar, which really was like a candy bar, the one I had
Right.
chosen. Red Bull, love my Red Bull. And then maybe I would have some Tostitos and salsa and, maybe some beans thrown in there. I wasn't thinking about anything else. It was just fast. It was very fast. It was box food from the freezer. And again, that can have a place, but it was all that I ate.
Right.
Yeah. And then whole food
So
plant-based is really more from, Whole Foods.
when did you really get that it went beyond just not consuming animal, but it really went into the whole foods? Now, I think you said you were 50 at that time.
Yeah, so it started to take hold truthfully when my husband was diagnosed.
Okay.
Because of course you're on the mission to save. How can we save you? And I remember him and we were sitting in Barnes and Noble. That's when bookstores were really popular. We went to the health section and the cancer section, and we had all the books laid out. I think I bought every Chris Carr book that was out there, and a lot of others. And the common theme through every single one was whole foods,
Interesting.
plant-based foods, plant-based foods. And so that's when it started to take hold. It didn't stick because my life was a hot mess.
Right.
I lost my husband. I was in bankruptcy. I didn't have a career, and I had a young son. Like, I was not in the space to think. But when it dawned on me, like, God, my son has lost two people at such a young age, I got to step it up. The first thing I knew was like, wait a minute, everything you read was the one thing we have control over. The
Right.
one thing is what we put in our mouth. And I was like, I got to change my eating habits, but I didn't really know what to do. And I didn't want to just do something randomly. And so that is why I enrolled at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. I wanted to learn, like, what is this power of food? And it's amazing.
It is. And I want to remind people that you're listening to the Plant-Based Eating for Health podcast show. I'm your host, Kathleen Gage, and I'm talking with Nancy Leeds Gribble. And Nancy, before I forget, how can people find you? Let's make sure that we put your website out there.
Oh, I love it. Super easy. NancyLeedsGribble.com.
That's pretty simple, and we'll make sure to put that in the show notes. But now you have a TikTok channel and you have an IG account, I believe, and you post your videos all over the place, and they're short, to the point, and they're easy to digest, and they're very much about the whole food plant-based eating. You have recipes, you show people how to prepare things, but you also do a lot of fitness stuff. When did you get so involved in fitness?
So that was also at this. My stories are crazy, but they're real. Because I didn't sleep very much after I lost my husband, stress, all the things. So everyone would say I was the queen of the infomercial. And I remember watching a Beachbody commercial, and it was Tony Horton, and he was promoting P90X. Now here I'm not working out at all, and I'm like, that's a crazy workout. And in the infomercial, he looked straight. I felt like he was looking straight at me, and he said, "If you're thinking you can't do this, who do you think needs you to show up?" And I was like, what?
Ooh.
What? I called right then and there to order my P90X, and I didn't have a credit card because I was in bankruptcy. So I had to, they're like, you had to send a check. I'm like, oh my God. So it took like 8 weeks to get it. And I got it. And of course I wasn't very motivated when, when it arrived, but I was like, you know what? I bought this for a reason, and I set it up in my garage. I would take the little DVD player that I had in my car, and I would put it on a table tray in my garage. I'd back out my car. I put up a mirror, and I put some mats. And my commitment was, even if I don't feel like it, I will get up and I will get out in that garage. And there were days I sat on the mat and cried.
Hmm.
There were days I didn't use any weights. And then there were days I was like, I just kicked ASS. And I really feel like it's the showing up for yourself that you start to take your own power back. I did all of this for my son. I mean, I'm very transparent. If I didn't have my son, I kind of was like, this life is a little bit
Right,
hard.
right,
I don't really know how long I want to be here, but I
right.
got this beautiful baby boy. And, but in the process of showing up for me very, very imperfectly, I was like, wait a minute, I'm starting to feel pretty good again. Like it just started clicking in. And that is really how I switched careers. I was doing real estate still, short sales and those things,
Hmm.
but I
Hmm.
didn't want to do nights and weekends. And I'm like, I want to do something else. And I started to think, wait a minute, if this can transform me, not just physically, but mentally, other women, they have to know about this. They have to. And that
Right.
was the journey. So I started.
That's interesting because, I see right now the world is upside down. I mean, there's no two ways to put it.
No
The
two
world is
ways.
upside down. There's a lot
Yeah.
of craziness going on. Doesn't matter what political party you belong to, left, right, crazy.
Yes.
And there's a lot of people that are falling into depression, into anxiety, into massive
Yes.
stress. And so what they do is they comfort eat and they eat foods that actually are filled with terror, with anxiety, with stress, with death, with toxins, with
Yes.
antibiotics, with steroids. I mean, they're putting this into their body and then they wonder why they feel crazy. It's like, well, let's take a look at the connection between what you're consuming and what's happening in your body. So, with the program that you do coaching, tell us about your coaching, tell us about what your business is about. Let's start
Oh,
there.
yeah. So, I mean, I'm for overall health with plant-based foods, but I get it. Women, I'm one of them. Like we want to make sure we're at a confident weight that we feel really good in. Weight loss is a big thing, but
Mhm.
I'm not just about like getting results now. I do specifically work with women over 50. So I want to make sure we're also setting up a beautiful longevity plan that we are focusing on the things they need to do right now to get kick-started, to start seeing the success they want in their health and their weight, but also all the other things that can come into play, your blood sugar, your metabolism, hormones, and really how we work out and setting up the longevity plan. So I have a 90-day program. I call, to help everyone get started. It's one-on-one coaching. It's me
Mhm.
and them. I meet them where they're at. This is what's great about it. It's not a cookie cutter program. We have foundations. I'm always very clear. But I set them up for how we're going to go, because the other part of this, most of us, when we're in our age range, we know how to diet. We know how not to eat. What we don't know is how to maintain results.
Right.
I didn't know that. I was like, what? That's why we yo-yo. So I make sure they understand how to maintain results. If they want to continue month to month, they can. If they want to go on their own. And then I have other one-off services. If someone's like, hey, I just need to know what is balanced nutrition for me, and I help them set that up. And if they want to add a call to it. So
Okay. Well,
yeah.
it's funny because I was thinking about when you were talking about being a yo-yo dieter, I bet we could compare a list of all the diets we've tried and we'd probably match up pretty closely. But the worst I ever did on yo-yo dieting, I was close to 200 pounds at this time. It was in my 20s. I was married at the time, had a terrible marriage. I mean, I didn't have one of those fairy
Yeah.
book marriages and rather abusive situation.
Oh,
And so what I did, because my ex-husband used to call me a fat pig. I mean, that's the kind of the language we had. And so what I did is I went on the liquid protein diet and I did it for 90 days, liquid protein. And I ended up in the hospital. I ended up they couldn't even hardly measure my potassium. They said, you're pretty close to dying here. And
wow.
but I went down to 105 pounds so I mean, I starved myself.
Yeah.
And I've I've tried virtually every diet, and the one that has always, and I don't consider it a diet, it's a lifestyle, is the whole food plant-based. When I
Yeah.
first went to whole food plant-based, I would not call myself a vegan because I thought vegans were crazy, and now I'm very well established
Yes.
as a vegan. I wear to the gym, vegan AF, so that's my shirt. But I didn't want to identify as a vegan, although I was rescuing animals. I was very compassionate to animals, but I didn't connect the dots of like, here I rescue on the one hand, I'll put all this effort into rescuing a dog, but then I'll eat a cow. It's like,
Yes.
go figure. So anyway, once I discovered whole food plant-based, I really saw some changes without dieting. I gave up on dieting and I dropped like 38 pounds in about a 3-month period without trying.
Yeah.
Started getting my energy back. But it was at the grocery store one day. I'm walking by the meat department and I was headed to the produce department. And I just stopped and I looked over at the meat that was wrapped up and I had this like visceral response to it. And I realized that I had done so much damage to the animals. And I actually started crying and I thought, how could I have been so blind? But it took what it took. And it was that day that I said, yes, I am absolutely vegan. And so now I like to match up like you do, whole food, plant-based vegan.
Yeah.
If there's I know we have women listening that are saying, okay, that's good for the two of you. Now, first of all, I want people to know how old you are. I know this is like the question you never ask a woman, but I'm going to ask you. Tell people how old you are, Nancy.
61.
Okay, 61,
Yeah.
and I'm 71.
Yeah.
And so it's like,
You're my rock star, by the
well,
way.
and you're my rock star. What can I say? We've got a mutually beneficial fan club going on here. But quite seriously, it's like I look at what you're doing and it does inspire me. And I know that people look at what I do and I hope to inspire. And if there's people listening right now, that there's that one woman that Tony talked to you, I want
Yeah.
you to talk to that woman and give her the hope. What can you say to her that will make her realize it doesn't matter if she's 50, 60, 70, it's not too late.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's it. It literally is not too late. It's never too late for a fresh start. You can honestly turn your health around. You can turn your weight around. You can turn your confidence around at any age. You're 71, my God. Like, look at you. And what you're doing 75 hard. Like, I mean, just you have to look for the people that inspire you. Don't settle. I think this is the biggest thing. There's a difference between, like you hear it all the time. And I think women get wrapped up in, well, my life is fine. I'm fine. Things are fine. Fine can be the kiss of death. And literally, because you don't actually know if what's going on inside your body is fine. But
Right.
I think for many women who have gone through maybe the same things you and I have with the yo-yo dieting, the problem that happens is every time we fail, right? Every time we gain the weight back, it chips a little at our confidence.
Right.
It chips,
Right.
and you can be extreme. I mean, I work with very successful women in their jobs, their business, their home life, philanthropy, whatever, but they constantly struggle with weight. And you see it on the internet and it sounds so cliche that it's not your fault, but it really isn't. We were not taught how to not diet.
Right.
We were taught how to diet. That's it. Eat less, eat less. Nobody taught. I mean, we've talked about it. I went from eating 1,100 to 1,200 calories to 2,000. I'm like, what? How did that happen? But you have to like know how to do it, and most women just don't. And then be able to put it in action. People will be, what do you do the most as a coach? I'm like, I'm their cheerleader.
Right.
I mean, yes, I know how to pivot them. Yes, I know how to do these things. I'm the person in the corner that is like, you got this, keep going, get back up, like, let's keep going. And then when it hits and you see, they're like, oh my God, I do have this. I'm self-accountable now. I know what I'm doing. I feel great. My eldest client is 84 And she
Wow.
is amazing, amazing. And so never too late, never too late.
Let's talk about the things that work against women in society in general. For example, ultra processed foods that are labeled healthy, low fat, high protein, yada yada yada. There's that. There's the commercials on TV for prescription drugs. I mean, I it boggles my mind when I see a new script come up, and I've way cut back on watching TV. I won't watch the news now because I just can't deal with the stuff that's going on. But I see a commercial come up and it's for some drug for some disease. And I'll look up the disease and like 2,000 people out of 200 million have this disease. And it's like, and they're pushing people to say, if this is how you feel, and we're being conditioned. We are being indoctrinated into believing that these are the healthy foods and this is the solution to those crappy foods that are making us sick. It would take a script. So talk about what works against women, especially.
I mean, definitely processed foods, and this is where I want women to kind of think about it. In processed foods, there's chemicals, right? Preservatives, and when we put these in our body, it messes up our signals. It messes up our hormone signals, our cell signals. Our body doesn't know what to do with it. So that's why they're not healthy for us and they become toxins. We're literally putting toxins in our own body. And I'm not saying you're never going to eat these things, but you have to have like an 80-90 rule, like the majority 80 to 90%. The other thing is, honestly, this is one of my favorites, is we have to learn to kill the fat. And I say, I don't mean the fat that's on our body, but these false assumed truths that continue to hold us back and to tell ourselves, I'm too busy. I don't know what I'm doing. And it's never going to work for me, because these are just old stories and we have to break those patterns. And it's, yes, there's the food. We have to consume more whole foods. Everything is tied together, like vitamins from one, macronutrients from another. Our body is uniquely designed to work with these, not to work with all the processed chemicals and preservatives. The other old story is, I don't know how to cook and I don't have time. I literally have a cooking show and I don't cook. I mean, I grew up on pot pies when I would eat them. Otherwise, it was
your recipes. I have to tell you, your recipes. You did that one with sweet and sour tofu, Asian fusion, something or other. And I was like, oh my gosh! And I'm going to try that recipe. And it's like, until I became plant-based, I wouldn't. And it has to do with my ex-husband.
Yeah.
And he never liked what I cooked, and it was like I could never do anything right. That's why we are now divorced, and he's now about 150 pounds overweight. And it's like, and he was a star athlete at one point. So there you go. Right. But anyway, there's my little dig. But just truthfully, it's like, I swore off cooking. I swore I will never, ever, ever cook. And when I became plant-based, I started experimenting, because if I wanted to eat, it had to be more than just raw for me. I tried raw for a period, but I love cooking now. I really do. I enjoy it because I feel so much love go into the cooking that I'm doing.
Yes. And I always say, like we were told, don't play with your food. Play with your food. Mm-hmm. Get your hands in there. Like the gal that does the cooking show with me, Susan, who's lovely. She's always like, I know Nancy. She wants to get in there and massage that kale and play with mix it up with my hands. I love it. It's like, getting a little bit of earth. And that's grounding, right? That's really grounding for our nervous system, truthfully. But I really understand the time constraints. I understand not having confidence in the kitchen. Again, that was me. I mean, I was like, when I even started eating plant-based, I tell people this, as long as I've been vegetarian and vegan, I did not even eat tempeh till almost 2.5 years ago. I was like, what is that? I know. All I learned was how to make like tofu scramble. Right. And I kept things simple and I just grew from there. And then get comfortable, then add in. Like, don't go all in overnight and be like, I'm going to go from a zero cook from eating fast food every day. And then tomorrow if I can't get all 6 days perfect, well, it's not going to work. Like, start small. Like do what you can and let's build up from there. And also for women, like we really do have to make sure we're getting in nutrients, like our body and our hormones, and we have to get the right balance of fats. We have to get some carbs in there. And I'm a protein pusher. So
Well, I want to talk about that because oftentimes when people hear that you're vegan or you don't consume meat and dairy, they go, where do you get your protein? That's the first thing. The second
always.
one, and I just wrote a post and put it on LinkedIn about the second one is, well, don't you have to supplement? Vegans aren't, they're not really healthy because they supplement. And this woman, she challenged me on a post I had done, and it got me to thinking, well, the industry for supplementation, vitamins, wouldn't be around if it wasn't for the carnivores who are over supplementing because they're eating like garbage. And so I did a little research, and it turns out that vegans use about 2 to 3%. They spend 2 to 3% of the entire supplementation industry. The other 97 to 98% are carnivores. So let's talk about the supplementation. Let's talk about protein. Where do people get their protein on a plant-based diet? Because we have non-plant-based eaters who are listening to this show. And then let's talk about supplementation. What is advisable?
Yeah, so great questions. And I will say that was one of the things I didn't know when I was vegan. I had no idea, one, that about the 9 essential amino acids, which are the amino acids our body cannot produce. We have to get them from food. Never knew that. Then you start hearing about all the food combining and it's like, what? Didn't know the importance of protein at all until I really ventured into this space. But for me, I get my protein. I will say we do want to mix up our protein throughout the day. You don't want to just eat tofu like I did. You want to mix it up with legumes. So I'll use tofu, tempeh, seitan and textured vegetable protein as my main. Those are my mains. And then I say I have my boosters, which are my legumes. And that's a top booster. I think nutritional yeast is a top booster. Grains, and then all the other little things that we eat, the micronutrients, the vegetables and different things all have little amounts and they kind of fill in gaps. But my main one, and I do take a protein powder. I do use a protein powder. But I get plenty a day and so just back to the essential amino acids. It is one thing that we do want to be cognizant of as vegans because that will come from food. So we do want to make sure, like I was saying, that we are getting a variety of foods so that we are incorporating all 9 of those, especially like leucine. I think it's leucine is the one that really can help our muscle development and things like that, but they're all important. So don't just stick to one thing. Make sure you're getting a really good mix, but you don't have to food combine. If you do this throughout the day, you're going to be fine.
So what about like chia seeds, flax seeds, hemp hearts, things of that nature? Yeah. Is that something that you advise to your clients, or is that?
Yes. Yeah. Healthy fats. We need those healthy fats. I always think brain, like especially for longevity and hormones, so that we need those. And then they all have like little small amounts of trace, protein and other things in them. So they're what I would call, if we're talking about the protein side, boosters. But then for their omegas, they're amazing. Right. So.
Well, and my morning ritual is that I do my 10 pages of reading. I go on a 45-minute walk or a bike ride. I do my progress picture. So I have my little routine set up. And then what I do is I make a protein drink. And like you said, you do protein powder. So do I. And I think that is helpful to me because I work out a lot and I do resistance training, which as an older woman, I know that helps me with my calcium. It helps with my bone structure, all of that kind of stuff. And you can correct me if I'm wrong on any.
No, you're right. You're right.
So, like I love going to the gym and I love knowing that I'm pushing myself. And the reason I push myself is so that I can have a quality of life where I don't end up like relatives and parents of mine that they ended up with grueling deaths. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like I look at somebody like my mom who just she had such a long, drawn out death, and they literally took pieces of her body away, her intestines and all that.
Oh.
And a lot of it had to do with lifestyle choices. And so I have vowed to myself to do all I can not to end up that way. And if something happens, at least I gave it my best. But let's talk about my one of my favorite topics, creatine. Now, creatine, is that something that you advise people to take? You don't advise? You could care less about creatine? Let's talk about that.
No, I advise all my clients and anybody to take it. So creatine, it's basically three amino acids, basically, and it really helps our muscles. It's helps our energy. It kind of fuels our ATP, and it really helps our energy. But also, we found I just had to look down because I wrote all these out because I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. Creatine is one of the most researched supplements on the market. And we were talking earlier, and I'm like, I'm not a scientist, but I really do try to follow the science.
Right.
Everything with weight loss and with health, it's conflicting, right? We hear so many things, but creatine seems to be one of those that everybody's on board with, right? And so the old days of you're only taking it because you want to pump up your muscles and be a bodybuilder are long gone.
Right.
So research has obviously shown that it improves exercise performance. It helps increase our muscle mass. And again, when women hear this, they panic. And I'm like, it is so hard to build muscle. We're losing it, right? When we hit the age of 35-ish, we start that decline. So increasing your muscle mass doesn't mean you're going to get bulky. First of all, you got to make sure you're doing resistance training with
Right.
it. But let's just try to hang on to what we have. Like, think of it that way. Enhance bone density. Bones. Okay, I guess I had to say this joke. I was talking to someone the other day, and I'm like, "How do you tell someone your age without telling someone your age?" Have you heard that?
No, no.
Okay, so I'm like, okay, maybe in this is my. I hope this is okay. Maybe in my 20s, I was like, I gotta work. It's my boobs and my butt. That's what I'm thinking about. I go now in my 60s, it's my brain and my bones. I go, that's how I'll tell you my age without telling you my age.
Absolutely.
But
Well, I was talking to somebody recently that a wild night out, and it's like I had a wild night tonight. And the wild night was I had to chase my animals around the house. I had to, whatever. In my 20s, a wild night was very different than what it is today. It's like
very different.
Staying up past 9 o'clock.
Yeah, right. It's so true. It's so true. And I've embraced it. I'm good with it.
Absolutely.
But bone density is big. I mean, we have got to protect our bones.
Absolutely.
So creatine, it helps with our bone density. The potential, they're really researching this on our cognitive function as we age. They're saying creatine can really help this. I don't know all the science, but it's coming out like definitely
Right.
it's good for this. Our mood, it can help us adjust our mood with stress. It improves our metabolic health, and possibly this part hasn't, there's not tons of research yet, but for hormone regulation. So we don't need to, like the old days of creatine, it was like you have to stack like
Right.
20 grams every day for 7 days. And that is where when people are like, but I'm so bloated, it makes me, yeah, 20 grams, 7 days a week is going to make
That's
you
a
feel
lot.
bloated.
And then there's the gas that goes with it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one thing about starting a plant-based diet too. It's like if you don't ease into it in some ways, if you've not been eating any plants at all, and it's really not that difficult to eat plants, but a lot of people don't. They eat a lot of ultra processed foods. They eat a lot of meat and dairy, and they don't have any fruits or vegetables. Oh, I don't like that. It's like, and if you go from a heavy meat diet to automatically 100% plant-based, you're going to be constipated probably. Then you're going to have, then you're going to have these are real things. You're going to have gas. And so you want to really work with somebody like Nancy who can walk you through the process instead of trying to figure it out on your own, So keep going, please.
Yeah, it's very true. But all of these things with creatine, so, 3 to 5 grams a day, mix it in your water, whatever you want, prior to workout or working out. And it's just that small amount. Also, creatine, women, I think we produce less, like 30% less than
Right.
men. And we also start to lose it as we're aging. So it's one of those supplements. It sounds like a bodybuilder supplement, but it is actually, I rank it up there with we want our magnesium, we
Right.
want to make sure we have our vitamin D. Other supplements, very specific to what you might be missing, a person might be missing, but creatine is one that will do well. And just start slowly. So, because what happens is the water retention in the cells is what causes is we start feeling
Right.
heavier and bloating. So start slowly and then build up.
Okay, I'm glad you said that because meat eaters tend to get creatine from meat, and so
Yes.
as vegans, we do need to have that in our system. And
Yeah.
depending on how strenuous my day is, like if I know it's going to be a very stressful day, and not because I'm going to choose to make it stressful, but just a lot of things going on, I tend to up my creatine just a bit, and I take it and before I work out. I have it in my water while I'm working out, and it really does make a difference. So, what do you see for your future, Nancy? What are some of the things on the horizon for you?
Like personal or or business?
Well, I know that you got a very handsome husband, and I love the pictures that you put up of the travels that you two have made. So personally, but professionally also, what's in store for people that they can go to you to get more of this type of information?
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Personally, I want to travel. And I actually want to do some of these vegan travels. I told my husband, I'm just going to tangent for a minute. I heard the question that you had on the other show where the person was like, being vegan is hard. And I was thinking, and I'm like, gosh, I've never felt like being vegan is hard because it's so aligned with who I am. But traveling as a vegan, eating out as a vegan,
Mm.
it can be challenging. And there's so many great travel groups now that are vegan oriented. And so I said to my husband, we are now going to go on some of those. And I'm super excited about it. I don't know what we've got in play, but I think, oh my God, a trip where I can eat every single meal and I don't have to think about it is that's like a dream come true. So that's my plan. And then work wise, I do have the one-on-one coaching, the 90 days. And then I have some one-time services. Like if somebody's just like, what what is the balance that I should be eating? I don't even know. So I have those, but my ultimate goal is that I create, I call it, my saying is pro-age the plant-powered way,
Hmm.
that I actually am working towards building a community and have a nice membership for people where I can provide all kinds of recipes, do cooking demos with them, have calls where I can answer questions. It wouldn't necessarily be the coaching aspect, but really making sure they're moving forward and they have a community surrounding them of women that are on the same path and have no intention of slowing down except for when they want to, right? Not because
Right.
they're forced to,
Right.
because their body won't let them do what they want it to do, or they don't feel good. I'm always like, how do you feel more than what do you weigh? But I think that would be amazing, like pro agers with plant
I
power.
love it. I love it because, and I like that you said by choice that you slow down because
Yeah.
I'm kind of semi-retired in my business. I
Yeah.
have a few clients I work with, but the rest of the time I'm out working I can work in my garden for 4 or 5 hours straight. And I'm
Yeah.
not talking like easy garden work. We have 5 acres and we're talking hauling wood. We're talking cutting branches off trees, hauling and sure, I could hire that out, and some of it I do, but I like the physical work, and I like the fact that at 71, I'm able to do what in my
Yes.
50s I wasn't doing because I was dealing with my mom's death and my dad's death, and I gained a bunch of weight and I felt sluggish, and it was enough for me to get off the couch. So I know what it's like to be on both sides of that fence. I know what
Yeah.
it's like to be a couch potato, and literally that I just don't have the energy to even get up and go get a drink of water in the kitchen. I know what that's like. But then
Yeah.
and also with I used to drink. I haven't had a drink in 42 years. I know what it's like to, instead of going to sleep, I would black out and I'd come come too. And that's not the life I want. The
Right.
life I want is what people like yourself offer, which is a pro-age lifestyle. It's a lifestyle that's vibrant. It's a lifestyle that's compassionate. It's cruelty-free. And in closing, is there anything I should have asked you that I didn't ask you?
Oh my gosh.
And if
I
you ask for the winning lottery numbers, I can't give you
I
those.
can't,
It's
what?
like I'm saving
I'm
them for
out, man. I'm
myself.
out. No, I don't think so. I think we covered everything. I just really, really genuinely hope people hear this and something resonates. And, we've talked about it before, the Midlife Manifesto. 50 is just can be just the beginning of a whole new set of adventures that are waiting for you. But if we don't have our health, it's just the oldest saying in the world, but if we don't have our health, nothing else matters. And health is all encompassing. It's not the scale. It's how you feel in your body, how your body moves, your mental state. Do you have joy in your life? Do you have community in your life? Seek these things out. Don't settle for, I'm fine.
Right,
You're
right.
really, really not fine. And if you really need more help, go get the help because your life is worth it. We just have this one life. That's it. There's no dress rehearsal, nothing. This is it. When it's over, it's over. And so let's make the best of it. Really doing what we can and what's in our control, and let go of all the other stuff that's not in our control, and turn the TV off.
Absolutely. And when you look at life and you say there's fewer years ahead of me than behind me, and that's a reality. I mean, at our age, it's
Yeah.
like we're not going to live another 60, 70 years. It's just
Yeah.
not probably not going to happen. And with the years that are left, what are we doing to make it the best years of our life? And so, Nancy, this has been delightful. I encourage people to go to your website, Nancy Leeds Gribble and .com. We will put that in the show notes. We'll make sure that people have that information. I do encourage people. I know Nancy now for a few years, and I know that you are the real deal. You really care about the people you work with. So if you're sitting on the fence and you need somebody that's going to help you to get to the other side of the fence, she's the person to reach out to. And I seriously, at one point, thought I was going to be a nutritionist and I was going to coach people. And then I realized that's not my wheelhouse. That's not what I'm passionate about. I love doing shows like this. And so I stepped back and I said, okay, these are the people you need to talk to. And Nancy is one of those persons. So with that, Nancy, thank you so much. If you think I love you, you're right. And to the people out there watching and listening, thank you for your time and attention. Please leave a rating and a review on this show. Tell a friend about it because that's how we grow the channel. And I encourage you, live with passion, live healthy, make the right choices, and be kind. Have a great day.
Yes.
You've been listening to the Plant-Based Eating for Health podcast show. I'm your host, Kathleen Gage, inviting you to subscribe to this channel wherever you're listening or watching the show. And please let your friends know about the Plant-Based Eating for Health podcast show. Live healthy.